Hello, and welcome to the final week of Deciphering Secrets the Illuminated manuscripts. This will be my final video for the hands-on project. This week, we were in charge of binding the codex that we built. After looking through the sources, and especially the very helpful videos from week 7 by Dr. Sanchez Prieto, I decided that my project would be divided into 3 phases. This week is the one where I needed the most materials, which were the following. 1. A text block. The quires made throughout the course, including the decorated pages. 2. 2 pieces of cardboard to replace the wooden boards that would have been used at that time. 3. Heavy thread or twine and a needle. 4. Rope and ribbon to serve as the support for the spine. 5. A saw. 6. Clasps. 7. Materials for the front strap. 8. Engrudo, which is handmade glue with flour, water, sugar, vinegar, and salt. 9. Pieces of fabric to bind the spine and the rest of the codex. 10. Tissue paper and paints to create faux leather. 11. A brush. And 12. Metal decorations for the final touches. Phase 1. The binding process. This was the longest of the processes because it needed a great deal of hard labor. According to the class videos, I tried to follow the process as it's detailed there. I began measuring the cardboard boxes to the size of the quires, only leaving what is known as a square on the outer edge of the codex. After measuring the ropes and cutting the ribbon to replace the leather strap that would have been used in those times, I cut it in the middle to replicate the herringbone sewing technique. I set all of this up on the lower board. Then I moved on to collecting the text block and clamps. I had to divide the text block in 2 parts that could fit into the 4 clamps I had available to me. I then proceeded to mark the places I needed to cut with the saw. I moved on to making the holes, as you can see in the following example. This was a fun part, although I was missing some of the machines to press the text block. However, I made it work, and also I did not have a sewing station, therefore I improvised and began sewing. I tried many times to do the link stitch by itself. However, I did not like the results, and thus I found that I liked to do the link stitch with the support, and thus that's what I did. I also included my ribbon strap to do the herringbone sewing technique. Thus, this codex contains both types of sewing techniques, as you can see on the images. Once I finished, I fastened the upper board onto the codex, and now we had our sewn text. The next step was the end band. Using pictures from sources, and especially the pictures from the videos, I figured out how to make the end band, and I tried my luck. It was the most fun I had while sewing the manuscript. I attached it at the hinge of the text and finished it on the board. I added also a red color to my heavy thread to give it a striped look of red and white. Then, I actually did something unorthodox to the medieval process, which was to create the strap for the front edge at the beginning and not at the end of the process. The reason for this is that I decided to take this shortcut because I had a very clear view of how I wanted our final manuscript to look like. Hence, I cut the red fabric and I attached the metal clasp and created a latch that would hold the codex. Then I proceeded to sewing it to the boards, And once this process was done, the next day I moved on to phase 2, the glue, engrudo. On the lessons, Dr. Sanchez Prieto mentions that the medieval manuscript makers would use flour glue to bind the text. I looked up various videos on YouTube as my source, and I proceeded to making the glue, though I do not know if it is similar to the bookbinders of the medieval centuries. The process is the following. I dissolved the flour in water while a pot of another batch of water boiled. Then I proceeded to pour in the flour water and I lowered the heat. I stirred the mixture for at least 20 minutes. In the meantime, I placed 2 spoonfuls of sugar, a small teaspoon of salt, and vinegar for preservation. Once the mixture is ready, it has to cool down, and the end result is a gelatinous whitish glue. I prepare the fabrics to be placed on the spine as seen on the example. What is absolutely a necessity with the gluing process is patience. Every time a piece of fabric was glued, I had to wait until it was completely dry to apply a second treatment to the fabric. I figured out a way to hang my dry manuscript from a metal candle holder in the shape of gates, which fit perfectly as you can see in the pictures. The next step, after applying the fabric to the spine, was to apply it to the boards. After 2 treatments of each side, as well as the inside cover of each, and gluing the flyleaf on top of it, I waited for it to dry each and every single time. And then I applied one last treatment to the spine. It took me 3 to 4 days to finish the whole process and for it to be dry enough for the final touches. Which leads us to phase 3, the faux leather covering and the final touches. This last part was small, but it was messy. Yet again, I gathered YouTube videos on how to make fake leather with tissue paper. I experimented quite a bit, and some came out blotchy like this one, others did not work at all, and finally I got this end result. I used acrylic paints in the water. After the faux leather was dried, and since tissue paper is so delicate that it broke, I fixed it up, I patched it up, and then I measured the paper to fit the text. Before that last step, I also had a nail and hammer, and I applied some holes in the front board for the decorations that were going to be applied later on. After all of that, I applied the flour glue, and then I attached the leather, and then I applied the metal decorations and waited for it to dry. Now my manuscript is ready. Thanks all for tuning in. Thank you to the course Deciphering Secrets and to Dr. Martinez Davila and Dr. Sanchez Prieto for creating this course. It was such a wonderful experience. I especially loved the binding part. And to every one of my classmates, I hope you had fun doing the hands-on projects and the other projects as well. And I hope that you enjoyed the videos. See you soon!